that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
Interesting. Sounds rather sort of bizarre, but I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I'd written it.
Princess Diana was buried on September 6, 1997. Her funeral was watched by over 2 billion people, marking one of the largest expressions of grief in modern history. She was laid to rest on a small island in the middle of a lake at Althorpe, her family's estate. For 27 years, her grave remained undisturbed, a peaceful place for the people's princess, surrounded by water and only accessible to her close family. But that has changed. I'm about to share information that the Spencer family wanted to keep private. This secret was meant to stay hidden forever, but some things cannot stay buried. They opened Princess Diana's tomb. The reasons behind this decision involved structural concerns and legal issues that had to be addressed. But what was found inside shocked everyone present. It was not because anything was wrong or because of a dark conspiracy. It was what Diana left behind, items buried with her that no one knew about. These were messages intended to be found only when her grave was opened. This final communication changes everything we believed about her last days. I must be careful because the Spencer family has requested privacy. They did not authorize anyone to share this information. However, those who were there when they opened the tomb have talked. This information has leaked, and the emerging story is too important to ignore. Princess Diana seemed to know she would die soon. While she may not have known the exact moment, she prepared in ways we are just now learning about. Let's go through what happened, why they opened the tomb, what they found inside, and why Diana's final messages are causing shockwaves throughout the royal family in the world. This is a story that was not meant to be shared. Let's dive into it. Why was the tomb opened after 27 years? For almost 30 years, Diana's grave was kept sealed. She is buried on a small island at Althorpe, accessible only by boat. Family members occasionally visited the island to pay their respects, but they never disturbed her grave. So why is it being opened now after 27 years? The official reason concerns the tomb's structure. It is located on an island in a decorative lake, and over time water can cause problems for burial sites. There were worries about water leaking in the stability of the burial chamber and preservation concerns that needed to be checked. Diana's brother, Earl Spencer, had an engineering survey done a few years ago. The results were serious enough to require further action. Though it was not an emergency, Diana's burial site is different from most royal and aristocratic graves, which are usually found in churches or old cemeteries. Her grave on the island was symbolic yet unusual, raising questions about how it would hold up over time. The 27-year mark is also important legally. Some places have rules about grave sites and what must be done after certain time frames. The laws in Britain regarding private burials are complicated, but there may have been legal reasons for this timing. Additionally, sources say that William and Harry wanted to know the condition of their mother's grave. They sought reassurance that she was at peace, her grave was secure, and that time had not harmed what should last forever. For whatever reason, the decision was made to open the tomb. A small team was formed to handle this. With tight security and a commitment to secrecy, on a quiet day when the press was not informed until later, Diana's tomb was opened for the first time since 1997. What they found inside was beyond anyone's expectations. The moment they opened the tomb, the operation to access Diana's grave was done with great care. This was not a rush job. It was a carefully planned process that involved experts in preservation, engineering, and funeral services. The team arrived at Althorpe before dawn. The estate was closed to visitors, and most staff members were kept away. Only a few people knew what was happening, and they agreed to keep it a secret. Earl Spencer was there. William was also said to be present, but some reports indicate he came later. Harry's attendance is unclear, but sources say he was informed and might have joined via video link from California. Opening the tomb took several hours. The team worked slowly to avoid any damage. Engineers documented everything carefully, and photographers captured each step for historical records. When the burial chamber was finally visible, everyone stood in silence for several minutes. They were not upset. The moment felt heavy with emotion. It was the first time they saw Diana's final resting place since her funeral. The burial chamber was in good shape. The fears about water damage turned out to be less serious than expected. Diana's casket was intact, and the environment inside had been sealed appropriately. However, during the assessment, the team found something surprising. There were items in the burial chamber that weren't listed in the original funeral records. These objects seem to have been added secretly, either during the funeral or afterward. They were things Diana had chosen to be buried with that nobody else knew about. This discovery changed everything. It was no longer just an engineering survey. It became something more significant. The family needed to decide how to proceed. Earl Spencer asked everyone except immediate family members to step back. What happened next occurred privately, but the emotional reactions of those who came out made it clear that something important had been found. The secret items buried with Diana. When Diana was buried in 1997, the items placed with her were carefully recorded. These included photographs of her sons, a rosary given to her by Mother Teresa, who had died the same week, a prayer book, and mementos from her life. However, when her tomb was opened, they found items that weren't on the official list. Diana had secretly arranged for these items to be added, and only a few trusted people knew about them for 27 years. Among the most important discoveries were letters. These were sealed envelopes that Diana had prepared before her death. They were addressed to specific people and were meant to be opened only when her grave was eventually accessed. There was a letter to William, a letter to Harry, a letter to her brother Charles, and possibly letters to other significant figures in Diana's life whose identities have not been disclosed. The existence of these letters suggests that Diana knew she might die. She prepared messages for her loved ones and arranged for them to be preserved in a place she knew would eventually be opened, even decades later. But the letters weren't the only discoveries. There were also documents that Diana wanted preserved but couldn't keep accessible during her life. The details of these documents haven't been fully shared, but sources say they relate to her time in the royal family. They include evidence of things she witnessed and records she kept for reasons only she understood. There were personal items as well. These had special meaning for Diana and possibly for the recipients of her letters. They connected to private moments and relationships that the public never knew about. Additionally, there was something else that sources are hesitant to describe in detail. This item shocked even those who thought they knew Diana well. The contents of her burial chamber were not just a princess's final possessions. They served as a carefully prepared time capsule. They were a message from Diana to the future, which she spent the last months of her life preparing, knowing it might be her last chance to communicate. The letters Diana left behind. The letters found in Diana's tomb are very important. They are not just casual notes. They are serious messages meant to be her last words to the people she loved most. One letter was to William. It focused on his future as king. Diana wrote about the responsibilities he would have and the kind of monarch she hoped he would be. She also mentioned the mistakes she wanted him to avoid. Diana talked about her father and their marriage, which had a significant impact on her life. But she didn't express bitterness. Instead, she showed a kind of sad acceptance. She wanted William to understand her past while finding his own way. She wrote about love and the importance of genuine connection. She advised him not to repeat the patterns that trapped her. Sources say she gave specific advice on choosing a partner, recognizing authenticity, and building a marriage that could last in royal life. Diana's letter to Harry was more emotional. She knew he would struggle with her loss more than William. She understood his sensitive nature and his need for reassurance. Her letter spoke directly to this. Sources suggest she encouraged Harry to be true to himself and not let traditions crush his spirit. She advised him to find his own path. Whether this advice influenced Harry's choices is hard to say, but there are similarities. Diana also wrote about the importance of remembering who he was before becoming royal. She wanted him to stay connected to everyday people and to use his position for real good, not just for show. The letter to Earl Spencer focused on family matters and the Spencer legacy. She made requests about how she wanted to be remembered and how to protect her memory. The other letters remain secret. We do not know who received them, but their existence raises questions about Diana's private relationships. Only she and the recipients of these letters know their content. The documents that could change history. Diana's tomb holds important documents beyond her personal letters. These documents are not just emotional goodbyes. They are records that Diana wanted to keep. The exact details of these documents are not fully known because the family has kept this information private. However, sources say they relate to Diana's experiences in the royal family and her concerns about certain issues. Some documents focus on her marriage. They include not just feelings, but also practical matters such as financial arrangements, agreements made, and promises broken. Diana kept track of what she was told and what she observed. Other documents address wider issues within the palace. Diana noted decisions she disagreed with and behaviors she found troubling. Although she was part of the family, she often felt like an outsider and saw things differently than those who had been there for a long time. There are also documents about specific incidents that were covered up or misrepresented at the time. Diana's notes might offer alternative views that challenge the official stories. Moreover, some materials address Diana's concerns about her safety. She made notes about things that concerned her and recorded conversations that felt threatening. Her famous letter predicting her death in a car accident is well known, but there may be other notes that help explain that prediction. Now, the family faces a decision about what to do with these documents. They could be sealed again, returned to the tomb, or kept in family archives. The family might choose to share some with historians or keep everything private. William and Harry have different opinions on this issue. William supports keeping things private, while Harry wants more openness. This disagreement reflects their different views on the monarchy and their mother's legacy. Earl Spencer, as head of the Spencer family and the steward of Althorp, where Diana is buried, plays a significant role in these decisions. He has not publicly shared his thoughts on the documents, but sources suggest he is cautious about anything that could further expose his sister's memory to public attention. The royal family's reaction to the discoveries. When the palace learned what had been discovered in Diana's tomb, the reaction was swift and strong. This wasn't just a historical finding. It could harm living members of the royal family. King Charles learned about the tomb opening within hours. His reaction was complicated. On the one hand, these materials belonged to his late ex-wife, the mother of his children. There is real emotional weight there despite any issues in their relationship. On the other hand, Charles knows what Diana might have written. He knows what happened during their marriage and what she witnessed. If her documents confirm what she said before, they could hurt his already complicated legacy. Camilla's response was more straightforward. Fear. Diana's feelings about Camilla were clear. If the documents contain specific accusations, detailed accounts, or evidence of things that have been denied, Camilla could face renewed public anger. Sources say the palace has informally asked Earl Spencer about the contents of the documents. They want to know what they are dealing with and prepare responses if needed. They may even want to negotiate some access or control. So far, Spencer has turned down these requests. The materials belong to the Spencer family and were found at a Spencer family burial site. The royal family has no legal claim to them. Whatever Diana documented is owned by her blood relatives, not by the institution she married into. This situation has created tension. The palace does not like being unable to control information. They have spent years managing Diana's legacy, deciding what to release and how to present it. The tomb discovery threatens that control. William is caught in the middle, as he often is, with issues related to his mother. He is a Spencer descendant, but also the future king. His loyalty is split between protecting his mother's truth and the institution he will one day lead. In the coming months, there will likely be ongoing discussions between the Spencer family and the palace. The question of what happens to Diana's documents may take years to settle. What this means for Diana's legacy and the future. 27 years after her death, letters and documents from Princess Diana are coming to light. She knew how to communicate well and connect with people, as shown in her famous Panorama interview. Recent findings about her tomb suggest that she thought about her legacy before she died. She wanted her voice to be heard, which makes sense considering the pressures and dangers she faced. Now, there's a debate about whether these materials should be made public or kept private. Some people believe she wanted her words to be shared as a final message, while others think her son should read them without public attention. Both views are valid. Diana's story continues to matter. It influences her sons and remains important in royal history. Opening her tomb is not disrespectful. It simply continues her story. Now society needs to decide what to do with her letters and documents. Should they be made public or kept secret? Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for updates on this continuing story.